All right. So there's a primary election. There's a lot to talk about. And I'm gonna do two separate segments on this. Actually, I'll combine them. I'll combine these. So there's a primary going on in Texas. And it is involving a Justice Democrat endorsed candidate, Jessica Cisneros, versus an anti-abortion right-wing psychopath Democrat, so-called Henry Cuellar. He is the only, to my understanding, the only Democrat in the caucus that is openly anti-abortion. Now, again, Nancy Pelosi is pro-life. She is a pro-life radical. That's why she's campaigning for Henry Cuellar. Jim Clyburn, also a pro-life fascist radical. That's why he is campaigning for Henry Cuellar. Right. So Henry Cuellar, openly against abortion, openly advocates for fascistically treating anyone with a womb as a second-class citizen or a slave or property, right? But then everyone who endorses him also tacitly anti-abortion, also wants anyone with a womb to be treated as a second-class citizen or a slave. That's what they advocate for. And so Jessica Cisneros released a statement in regards to this race as she is going up against Henry Cuellar, and especially in regards to the latest episode of Roe v. Wade being dismantled. I know it's happened 38 times in the last 20 minutes, but I want to play this and we'll go from there. Again, I just want to be very clear. Nancy Pelosi is an anti-abortion, radical, fascist, want-to-be slave owner. That's my opinion. You will not change my opinion unless she immediately rescinds her endorsement of Henry Cuellar. She is dead to me. She is garbage. If I endorse Adolf Hitler, you would be wondering why the fuck I would do that, right? What's the difference between Adolf Hitler and people that endorse Adolf Hitler's policy agenda? Guess what? There really is no difference. And I want people to understand that is what this debate is about. It's not about, oh, this ain't the deal, lie, no, don't lie. That's not what it's about. If it was about that, then these motherfuckers would never even think about jerking off. Every time you even have sex for the sake of procreation, you are also committing mass murder of millions and millions and millions and millions of different sperms that don't even make it anyway. So, anyway, again, it is not about anything about the life, right? It's about control. They are fascists, and they are want to be slave owners, and they want to treat anyone with a womb as a slave and personal property. It's that simple. There is no if, there is no and, there is no but. If someone endorses Adolf Hitler, they are as bad as Adolf Hitler, okay? So Nancy Pelosi endorsing someone like Henry Cuellar makes her as bad as Henry Cuellar. All of Henry Cuellar's bad properties are then put on to Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi is a fascist. She is a fucking moron. She is pure, unadulterated evil. So with that being said, let's see what Jessica Cisneros has to say about Henry Cuellar.
As the Supreme Court prepares to overturn Roe v. Wade, I am calling on Democratic Party leadership to withdraw their support of Henry Cuellar, who is the last anti-choice Democrat in Congress. At every turn, my congressman has stood in opposition to the Democratic Party agenda, from being anti-union to being anti-choice. And with the House majority on the line, Cuellar could very much be the deciding vote on the future of reproductive rights in this country, and we just cannot afford that risk. On May 24th, we will defeat the last anti-choice Democrat, and South Texas will finally have a representative in their corner who will fight for their health care, their jobs, and their freedom. I hope Democratic Party leadership won't stand in the way of delivering for South Texan families, and I'm ready to work with them to deliver on the Democratic agenda. But we cannot do this alone. We can win this, but it's going to take all of us. We only have 20 days to get this done. If you live in the district, I hope to count on your vote, and I hope to see you out there knocking on some doors to get out the vote for the May 24th election. And it's also really easy to support our campaign from wherever you are. Please consider chipping in $10, $20, $30, whatever you can do, or joining one of our phone banks. Please go to JessicaCisnerosForCongress.com. That's Jessica Cisneros, Cisneros, for Congress.com to get plugged in.
So, very important. And so again, I want everyone, if they have any potential or skills whatsoever, Phone bank, it's important to do if you have, if you want to donate, I would highly recommend doing so. To this campaign, it's probably going to be where your money is going to be most useful. At least one of the areas where donating to a political candidate would be most useful. But also, again, as she mentions here, it is mandatory the Democratic leadership revoke and rescind their endorsement of Henry Cuellar. If they don't, the Democratic Party is meaningless. The Democratic Party is not a bastion for reproductive rights. The Democratic Party is where reproductive rights go to fucking die. The leader of the Democratic Party in the House of Representatives is an anti-abortion Democrat, right? I need people to understand that. The whip, who I believe currently is Jim Clyburn. Is that correct? I could be wrong. I know he's in high-ranking leadership, right? Also an anti-abortion Democrat. In my opinion, and again, this is my opinion, I want to make it very clear, right? Henry Cuellar is not the only anti-abortion Democrat. If someone else endorses him, right, knowing that he's anti-abortion in this climate with the Roe v. Wade SCOTUS leak, they are, for all intents and purposes, also an anti-abortion Democrat. Again, if you endorse Adolf Hitler, oh, well, I endorse Adolf Hitler for sure, but, I don't really agree with everything he wants. I endorsed him. I endorsed Adolf Hitler. I think he's the best guy for the job. Does that mean I agree with everything he does? No, not really. That's Nancy Pelosi. And yeah, I'm comparing Adolf Hitler to Henry Cuellar. I'm sorry. Go fuck yourself if you Go fuck yourself. It's called an analogy, you fucking stupid fucking prick. Anyway, so I also want to play this clip of Elizabeth Warren. I know. We all hate Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren is garbage. Elizabeth Warren is shit on my fucking shoes. And again, in the same way that in the same way that Nancy Pelosi, as an anti-abortion Democrat, because she endorses Henry Cuellar, Elizabeth Warren is a pro-corporate, pro-business, pro-fraud, anti-union, anti-American candidate for endorsing Joe Biden in the 2020 primary, and for doing all she could to make sure that Bernie Sanders would lose the race. So again, fuck Elizabeth Warren. That said, people still pay attention to her, and she is one of the few high-ranking Democratic congresspeople, in the Senate, of course, to endorse Jessica Cisneros over Henry Cuellar, and I think that is an important thing to do. I think that that's important to understand, and especially in this moment, so I want to play this little clip here.
So I think
that's really loud. Holy shit.
Part of this is going to be we're going to have that fight one more time around the filibuster. And look, I look at it this way. If we don't have enough Democrats to get that job done right now, then give us some more Democrats. And I actually want to put it a pitch right now for something everybody who's watching this can do today. Not just, on down the line, but right now today. There's about to be a primary down in Texas for a congressional seat. Henry Cuellar sits in that seat. He is someone who has supported the Texas abortion ban. He's someone who has voted against federal efforts to try to protect Roe versus Wade at the federal level. And he's running against a young woman, Jessica Cisneros, who's terrific and who has a real chance to beat him and who will fight for a woman's right to make her own decisions about her life. So if you're mad when you listen to this, send Jessica Cisneros $10. If you can afford it, send her $25. If you can afford more, send more. But don't talk to me about how frustrated you are because you don't like our particular constellation of Democrats. Help us get some Democrats elected who will actually make a difference. I'm mad. I'm ready to take action, but we need this entire nation to speak out. If the vast majority of people in this country want to see Roe versus Wade protected, then it's going to take all of us working on this. And yeah, it may take a little patience. It may take some frustration, but that's how we get there. And believe me, this is a fight worth having.
So, again, I think Elizabeth Warren is garbage. I think she is if you were to write like a book, right, and try to like pinpoint like the moments in American history where everything went wrong, I personally feel like Elizabeth Warren would be one of, I think she's on the top 10 for like one of the worst like positioned strategically like blundered like politicians of all time, in my opinion, right? She is up there with like, you know, putting Andrew Johnson as vice president and other stuff. In my opinion, I think she is a absolute and utter disaster for American politics overall in the grand scheme. That said, this is the exact kind of statement that she would be making, or should be making. This is the exact kind of statement everyone in the Democratic Party should be making, except I would go further and call out Nancy Pelosi, who is an anti-abortion, radical, fucking self-loathing freak show, one of the most horrible, wretched, disgusting leaders of the so-called Democratic Party that has ever existed in human history. She is trash. And more people need to say that Nancy Pelosi has got to go. If she is going to endorse an anti-abortion shithole fuckface called Henry Cuellar over a young progressive woman who actually gives a fuck about reproductive freedom, guess what? She is an anti-abortion Democrat. So is James Clyburn. So is everyone else who has endorsed Henry Cuellar. They are all garbage. They are all garbage. Garbage. The world would be significantly better if people like Nancy Pelosi just suddenly stopped existing. If people like James Clyburn just decided to fucking retire already. Y'all motherfuckers are 80 fucking years old. Just go the fuck away. It's that simple. There is no excuse to have any fascists in the Democratic Party. That goes for Joe Manchin, that goes for Kyrsten Sinema, and that goes for Nancy Pelosi. Fuck the fascists, get them out, and purge them from this so-called big tent. If our tent is big enough to have fascists and people that think that anyone with a womb is property or a second class or, God forbid, a third class citizen, they are garbage and they need to fucking go. They need to fucking go. Fuck them. Purge them completely, get rid of them, and then never even think about letting them in the party ever again. Otherwise, what's the point of the Democratic Party? Why does it exist? If it's fascist light, the Republicans are openly fascist. They are endorsing neo-Nazis. Half of them are neo-Nazis. Most of them tried to destroy the U.S. government almost a year and a half ago now. And Democrats letting them do it, also endorsing a lot of their policies. So why have a fascist party and a fascist diet party instead of a fascist party and an anti-fascist party? The Democratic Party needs to become an anti-fascist party. And as it stands, really, it's doing everything it can to resist that. The Democratic Party is doing everything in its power. Everything. The leadership, Chuck Schumer as well, doing everything in their power to maintain the consistent through line of fascism in this country. They don't give a fuck about reproductive freedom. They don't give a fuck about your rights. They don't give a fuck about your health. They don't give a fuck about anything. All they all care about is money and power. It's that simple. So anyway, there you go.